December 2025, jihadist militants attack an army barracks in central Mali, West Africa. This isn't an isolated incident. Mali is on its knees.
You have the prospect of an Al-Qaeda affiliate toppling a national government.
In recent years, Mali and its neighbours have been fighting a losing battle against jihadists. And one group in particular has seen devastating successes. Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam wal Muslimin, otherwise known as jnim. Their rise isn't just a problem for Mali.
Most of Burkina Faso is already under jnim control.
jnim are out fighting national armies and militias all over the Sahel, including foreign mercenary groups invited to help.
Russian offensive and operations.
So how close is jnim to reshaping West Africa? Can the region push back? And what would it mean for the rest of the world if it can't? Mali has endured a brutal and long-lasting conflict since 2012 between the Tuareg ethnic group in the north and the Malian government. In 2017, prominent Tuareg Islamist militant Iyad Agali merged his jihadist group Ansar Dine with others to form jnim.
jnim is a coalition of different jihadist groups. It's really an umbrella organization, but now they're all affiliated with Al-Qaeda.
The Al-Qaeda faction has been present in parts of Africa for some time. We're now seeing this creeping into more commercially strategic areas in Mali.
In many areas, they have become the de facto rulers.
jnim operates in rural areas in northern, central and western Mali, where there's less government presence and a higher discontent with the authorities among locals. They've established a firm foothold, even as the Malian government has invited in foreign armies to help fight the threat.
In 2012, when the insurgency broke out in northern Mali, a coup took place. A transitional government came in power, and they called for French forces to deploy in the country and support them with fighting back the militants.
But the French forces had limited success, and as they struggled, the former colonial power became increasingly unpopular.
Mali had 2 coups in 2020 and 2021. The responses by the military-led government was then to drive for calls for French forces to leave.
After the French were expelled, Mali's new military junta turned to Wagner, a Russian mercenary group, to fight the militants. But the Russians haven't had much success either. In fact, since Russia has been fighting the insurgency, jnim violence has spread in west and southern Mali, getting closer to the capital, Bamako. jnim are now laying siege to the city, attacking any tankers that try to deliver fuel. By choking the capital, they might force another change.
What is likely to happen is more calls towards a change of governance in the country. What jnim would want to do is have a more favorable government towards its influence.
In much of the country, jnim is already acting as a shadow government.
jnim has shown that they can govern at the local level, and instead of receiving most of their money from international terror financing, they're actually collecting a lot of revenue through taxes from farmers, from markets, and they also run criminal-like endeavors.
As jnim's funds grow, Mali's beleaguered military regime has found itself increasingly helpless.
jnim is controlling a large part of the Malian territory. It has really expanded in its influence during the last year to an extent which it has not done before.
And if this Al-Qaeda affiliate does fully consolidate itself in Mali, it will have far wider repercussions. If jnim calls the shots in Mali, the governments of its neighbours Burkina Faso and Niger will look increasingly precarious. Together, the countries form part of the Sahel, a belt of countries just below the Sahara Desert that stretches across Africa.
So jnim has been operating beyond Mali in Burkina Faso, parts of the north and the eastern regions, and in Niger, primarily in the western regions of Tillaberi.
As in Mali, recent coups in Burkina Faso and Niger mean they're now also ruled by juntas. They too expelled the French forces who were fighting jihadists in the area and turned to Russia for help instead. But activity of jihadist militant groups has continued to spread across the region. And if Burkina Faso and Niger see regime change and a stronger jihadist presence, Mali's coastal neighbours would also feel the effects.
We have seen already hundreds of thousands of displaced people in Mali. It's possible that that could rise with more people flowing across the country's borders into the likes of Côte d'Ivoire, Senegal, also destabilizing populations and border regions in those countries.
But the rise of jnim isn't just a regional problem.
We're focusing today on the confirmed geographical expansion of Jama Nusrat, what Islam was al-Muslimin, JNI for short. They have now formally established a presence inside Nigeria.
October 29th, 2025, jnim carries out its first claimed attack on Nigerian soil, resulting in 1 death.
They were able to use both Niger as well as Benin as entry points to this state. They claim to have killed 1 police officer, so it was a fairly small-scale attack, but they did try to demonstrate that they're now developing a sort of foothold in the region.
This matters. Nigeria is Africa's most populous country, an economic powerhouse already facing multiple security threats. If Nigeria were to further destabilize, the results would be dire.
The prospect of jnim or other radical Islamist groups threatening Nigeria further is a really big deal. Nigeria is one of Africa's largest economies, a major oil and gas producer and exporter, and if the country were to see wider destabilization, it's something that would be noticed far beyond the Sahel or West Africa.
It's not just Nigeria feeling the heat. A bigger win for jnim would have repercussions far beyond Africa.
Russia has been able to solidify its own interests in the Sahel, including in uranium and gold mining. So if jnim were able to spread further, consolidate their power, that would certainly be viewed as a Russian defeat.
For the West, the stakes are even higher.
If jnim and other jihadist groups become even more entrenched in the Sahel region and in the broader West African region, we already know that these states are transit states for migration and refugees coming from different areas in Africa, and that means a political challenge for Europe.
Increased migration might cause political waves, but a greater concern might be security.
In many instances, the ideologies driving these groups are inherently anti-Western, and in many instances we have seen instances where they do use these regions as a launching pad to call for action in European countries.
And one of the West's old enemies could pose a bigger threat than ever before.
Also very active in Mali is the local branch of Islamic State. jnim's continued growth and destabilization of the Sahel seeds the same type of insecurity in which Islamic State would thrive. It certainly raises the prospect of a region that's already awash with weapons and disenfranchised fighters that perhaps want to take their grievances to, at the very least, some of the West's allies in West Africa.
Years ago, some in the West warned that Mali could become the Afghanistan of Africa, a place where terrorists can train and plan freely. jnim might well be looking to Afghanistan for inspiration.
The case of the Taliban seizing power in Kabul and more recently Hayat Tahrir al-Sham toppling the Bashar al-Assad regime in Damascus has, many analysts say, rewired some of the motivations of African jihadist groups like jnim. jnim have probably seen what happened in Syria, where you have a former Al-Qaeda affiliate that cut ties with the parent organization and then legitimized.
There have been some reports of jnim distancing itself from the Al-Qaeda group. While Al-Qaeda will always have the high ideological principles of following a strict version of Sharia law, jnim appears to be a lot more pragmatic.
But for now, political legitimacy is a long way off, and the rise of jnim isn't just a worry for Mali and its neighbours, It's a worry for the world.
If jnim continues to be successful in destabilizing the Sahelian countries, you could see a rise in just utter chaos over a vast swathe of land in Northwest Africa.
In a worst case scenario, we will see a regional caliphate developing in between three states, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. We're not there yet, but the situation is really not looking good.